Hello, today I'm going over fundamental versus realized niche. And it talks about those two things here and it gives an example. But the general idea is that a fundamental niche is anywhere you might find that organism living. So for this barnacle, it can live everywhere from the high tide mark to the low tide mark. It can use all this space. But a realized niche is kind of like the actual niche and conditions. So we see here, there's these two barnacles, and the one before that could live anywhere between high and low tide. Well, now it's in competition, and it is outcompeted for this lower tide area. And the only place we find it is in this upper area. That's its realized niche. Even though it could live down here, it doesn't because it's being outcompeted. So fundamental versus realized. Now what we're gonna do is do a couple of graphs, one in which we only have this population of barnacles. And then the next graph has a population of both barnacles. So basically we're graphing what we're seeing in these images here. And I will show you the graph. So you're gonna have to fill this in on your own. Tide level at the bottom in feet, starting at -1. And for every line, we go half a foot. -0.5, 0, 0.5, 1, 1.5, 2, all the way to 4.5. And then the population that we counted goes from 0 to 13. One every single line. Okay, so take a look at that for a moment. You're gonna do the same thing. This setup is gonna be the same as the setup down here. So exactly what you're writing here, you're also gonna be writing there for the numbers along the axis. Also, for both of these graphs, we need a little key. And for the first barnacle, we're gonna use red, and for that second barnacle, we're gonna use blue, okay? I've already done a little bit of the blue, so let's take a look at our first data table. And for this, the barnacle Semibalanus, in this case, it's been removed. So you'll see that no matter where we are on the tide, it's 0. And you see I started going 0, 0, 0, because it doesn't matter what the tide level is. That line is just gonna go all the way across. Okay. But now let's look at this other barnacle, Cathalamus. And for each part of each level of the tide, we have a population number. So at -1 feet, we have 6. So I'm going to use my red because I want to be able to compare the two populations in the graph. At -0.5, we have 8. And at 0, we have 8 again. Now, normally we'd be doing this with bar graphs, but in this particular case, we're gonna use lines so we can compare the two and see them both easily on the same graph. You're gonna do the rest of this data table on this first graph, and then you're gonna do this data table, the second data table, on the second graph. Again, setting up the axes the same way. Okay, let me know if you need any help. I hope this helps.